Yes, I'll need that on my desk by Monday. No excuses. Listen, having a commanding presence is everything in business, and network IT management is no exception. In this Cisco Tech Talk, we'll walk through some of the most commonly used functions for the command line interface on CBS 350 and 250 switches. Next. In this demo, we'll cover the gamut of CLI commands, including creating a host name, a username and password, disabling and enabling smart ports globally, configuring a static IP on VLAN 1, configuring multiple VLANs, configuring access and trunk ports for VLANs, and finally, saving our configuration to the switch's startup config. As you can see, we're already connected to our switch with a terminal. Let's start by logging into the switch. We'll first notice that the host name of the switch is in the first line on the command prompt. In order to change this, we'll need to be in global configuration mode. We'll start by typing configuration and hit enter. This will take us into the global configuration mode. Next, we'll type host name and the name that we would like to assign to the switch. In this case, we'll use switch 3. We can also verify this by exiting out of the global configuration mode by typing either exit or end and performing a show command. In this case, show system. Next, let's create a user who can log into the switch as an administrator. First, we'll enter the global configuration mode. From here, we simply start typing username, then the name of the user we want to create. In this case, we'll create Tim. Now add the command password, and after that, type the password you want to use. At this point, we can choose whether or not to encrypt the password. If we hit the spacebar and add a question mark, we'll be shown available commands. For this example, we'll use the SHA-512 for our encryption on the password. We can also change the privilege. To assign the user as an administrator, they will need both read and write privileges. We'll enter privilege for this command, followed by control question mark. We'll have the option of privilege 1, privilege 7, and privilege 15. Privilege level 1 is meant for basic users with just read-only rights. Privilege 15 includes read and write access. For this example, we'll choose 15. We've now created this user and can once again exit out. Typing exit will log us out of the switch. We will now log back in with our newly created user. From here, we can select Show Users command to see that Tim has logged in on the serial location for 30 seconds. Much of the information we might need on a switch can be ascertained by entering the Show Running Configuration command and tapping Enter. This will show us the configuration of the switch, which currently is set as default configuration. We'll see our host name we've created, as well as our users with password encryption. Most of our switches come with what's called Smart Port. What this does is allow the switch to determine what is physically plugged into its ports. And based on macros that are configured, it will auto-configure the port. Auto-configuring can sometimes cause headaches if we're not aware of the specifics of how it works. To help alleviate this, we can disable our Smart Port. To do so, we'll enter our global configuration mode and simply type macro auto disabled, and then enter. To turn this back on later, we'd simply run the same command and follow it up by typing enable. And to set the switch to default settings, type no macro auto. Next, we'll add a static IP address to VLAN 1 on the switch. First, we'll enter our global configuration mode and type interface VLAN 1. Our command will begin with our IP address, in this case, 172.19.76.4, followed by our subnet mask, in this case, 255.255.255.0. From here, we can take a look at our configuration with the show command. To execute an exec level command from global configuration mode or any configuration submode, use the do command. We'll type the word do first, followed by show running configuration. We can now see that interface VLAN 1 has our IP address assigned to it. No IP address DHCP simply means we are not pulling an IP address dynamically. Next, let's talk configuring VLANs. While in our global configuration mode, we'll type VLAN 20 to start. We also have the option to create a VLAN, in this case VLAN 30, by typing the command interface VLAN 30. This command will also take us into the VLAN interface, allowing us to configure the interface directly. Typing in command do show VLAN, we'll now see that we've created VLAN 20 and VLAN 30. If we want to add a name to the VLAN, we can do that here as well. Type name, and then the name you would like to call the VLAN. For this example, we're going to call it data. To switch back and forth between the VLANs, type interface VLAN 20. From here, we can change the name of our other VLAN, which we'll call voice. Now for a pro tip. To find commonly or frequently used commands, simply use your up and down arrow keys to cycle through previously typed commands. Next up, we'll configure an interface as an access port for both VLAN 20 and VLAN 30. To do this, we'll access port 10. We'll type interface G1/0/10 for port 10 and create an access port by typing switch port mode access. Next, we'll assign it to a VLAN by typing switch port access VLAN 20. Subsequently, we'll change interface 11 to VLAN 30. By using our arrow keys, we'll bring up the command to enter interface and change it to 11. As you can see, we are currently in the interface G1/0/11, and we can cycle through to our switch port mode, access and switch port access VLAN 20, simply deleting 20 and adding 30. We can verify this once again with the command show VLAN. We can see now that port 10 is on VLAN 20 as untagged, along with port 11 on VLAN 30 as untagged. Still with me? Great. To round things out, we'll walk through creating a trunk port. We'll enter interface 12, and in this case, instead of using a command to switch port mode access, we're going to use the command switch port mode trunk. To assign the VLANs, we'll enter the command to switch port trunk allowed VLAN and use 1, 20, and 30. We'll also need to add a native VLAN, which is the untagged VLAN for the trunk. We'll type switch port trunk native VLAN, and in this case, we are using VLAN 1. We can verify our changes by using show VLAN, and we'll see that port 12 is tagged VLAN 20 and 30, and port 12 is untagged VLAN 1. The command show running configuration will allow us to see that we have configured multiple ports as access ports or trunk ports, as well as which VLANs are allowed. The final step? Saving the configuration. We'll type exit and hit enter twice, and type the command copy running configuration startup configuration. This is so that when the switch reboots, the saved changes will be applied. We'll be asked to confirm yes or no to finalize the changes. And that's a rundown of the basics of CLI commands for CBS 350 and 250 switches. Thanks for watching this Cisco Tech Talk. We'll see you next time.